There's a trend I've noticed recently whenever I post travel videos on social media, but particularly TikTok. No matter what the video's about, really angry comments start popping up calling me things like colonizer or international gentrifier, blaming me and my videos for a rise in a cost of living that's displacing communities and generally ruining the world. My initial instinct was to try to respond to every single comment. Maybe if I just explain that this affordable housing crisis isn't isolated to any one place, that it's happening in almost every major city in the world, maybe they'd understand that what I was trying to do was expand our empathy, to celebrate the cultures I was exploring, and connect people to our shared humanity. But the more I responded, the worse it got, and so eventually, I just gave up. But when I traveled to Argentina earlier this year, nearly every person I told about my plans had some version of the same question. What about their economy right now? Isn't everything really bad? Is it okay to travel there? What I saw when I first arrived didn't match what I had been told to expect. The restaurants and cafes were full of people who looked like they were enjoying their lives. The city was sparkling, and I promptly fell in love with the place, extending my trip by another month. When I dug a little deeper and started talking to more Argentinians, though, I discovered why everything looked so rosy. I was living in a bubble, comfortably nestled inside another bubble. I was staying in the nicest neighborhood in the nicest city in the country. Of course, everything looked fine from where I was. To the people at the top, economic catastrophes are usually only felt at the edges of their lives, while everyone else in society is left to shoulder the burden. And so, I wanted to know, can you travel responsibly to a country in the middle of a giant economic crisis? Is what I'm doing part of the problem? So today we're gonna go talk to someone who knows a lot more about this than I do. His name is Nicolas, and he actually ran the walking tour that I went on the last time I was in Buenos Aires. I'm excited to get to ask him a bunch of questions about the history of Argentina and the current situation and see if there's an answer to the question of, can you travel responsibly? So let's go. Guys, if I'm honest, I'm kind of nervous about this video. I know it's a huge topic, A, like the state of another country, and B, traveling responsibly. So I just want to be clear, this isn't definitive. This is me being curious and finding people who know more than I do to give us some insight collectively. So go easy on me in the comments, please. You know what? Light me up in the comments. I don't care. Just kidding, I do care. Oh God.
Nicolas Dulcich. I'm a social anthropologist.
I got a lot of questions after my first video of like, well, isn't it a catastrophe there? So maybe, and I know it's a huge question, but what is Argentina like now?
It's a disaster. Yeah, pretty much. We've been doing pretty bad for the past 8 years. Especially after in 2008. Eight. No. I disagree with the 80. I study history, so that's not okay. It all started with the debt that Macri took as president back in 2018.
Business now. We're starting in Argentina, in fact. A crisis in the nation's currency value has pushed it back into the arms of the International Monetary Fund. Joining me here on set, Brian Quinn is with us with that and the rest of the business news.
That's right. The country's finance minister will be meeting the head of the IMF on Thursday to ask for new loans in a bid to bolster Argentina's faltering peso. There's been criticism from both the streets and from opposition in parliament after President Macri announced on Tuesday that he would seek help from the IMF 17 years after the country defaulted on its debt and 12 years after it cut ties with the organization. When protesters gathered outside Congress in Buenos Aires to denounce what they fear could lead to a return to neoliberal austerity policies.
This is not going to solve our problems, this money coming from abroad. Instead, it will create a ball of debt that will be impossible to pay off, and what we've seen in the past will happen again.
And the economy started going. Every index, poverty, inflation, everything bad. But pretty much in 2001, we had a terrible crisis. We had, for almost a decade, a system in which a peso was paired to US dollar. It didn't work, and it blown away in 2001. After that, we went on a devaluation process. It started like 3 pesos, $1, and it started going up very slowly. But pretty much after that, the central bank started regulating, and the executive power started putting a lot of regulations in when it comes to foreign money. And we've been shut down for international credit since that crisis. During those years, it was Kirchner and then Cristina Kirchner presidency. They paid the whole debt to the IMF, cash. And they managed really quite successfully to go from a really terrible crisis into the highest minimum wage in US dollars in all of Latin America. It just happened in 10 years. It's not because they are crazy or we are an amazing country, it's because pretty much they did quite few things right, especially when it comes to the economy. But then Macri won the elections, and the first thing he tried to do was something that he actually promised during the campaign, was to deregulate the whole economy. And one of the main things was to allow anyone to buy foreign currency. But the only thing that is that we don't produce the foreign currency. So where does it come from? From the central bank. So in just 1.5 years, the central bank of Argentina was cleaned out from US dollars. So the idea was to have a huge deregulation system so that foreign investments would overflow our economy. Right. So there would no need, this is from their perspective, I do not share this, that there would be no need for Argentina's central bank to regulate, since the demand and supply would regulate itself. Well, guess what? It did not have that. So the whole system collapsed. The central bank has no money. So that's where the IMF comes in. The IMF gave Macri the largest ever given debt in the history of the IMF since it was created after the Second War, 45 billion US dollars. It was given by Donald Trump himself to the President Macri while Macri was running for president for re-election. He lost. Fernandez won, and what happened pretty much is that COVID started. Fernandez sent the Ministry of Economy to renegotiate the debt with the IMF. But the thing is that the IMF does not renegotiate anything. So the only thing they agreed on was to change the due date for just a couple of years. But now we have double debt. So 80 years went by, and this really random crazy guy with a wig comes in. I know I'm bald, so I may be a little bit jealous, but not about that.
A massive political shakeup in Argentina. Javier Milei, far-right economist and television personality, joined the political fray just 3 years ago. Now he's in charge of the third largest economy in Latin America, as it teeters on the edge of disaster.
Porque hoy comienza la reconstrucción de Argentina.
Milei rode to power on a wave of popular discontent over a stagnating economy with a 40% poverty rate and inflation nearing 150%. This woman says she supports Milei because she's looking for change in Argentina, a country she says has been suffering from years of decadence. He became known for his unorthodox showmanship during the campaign, wielding a chainsaw to symbolize his war on government spending, threatening vital public services. Afuera! And printing a picture of a US dollar bill with his face on it, part of a widely criticized campaign to use the US dollar as Argentina's currency.
For normal Argentinians, what has the experience been like through all of this?
When you talk to people that voted for the president, with an actually honest perspective of change. They have hope, you know. He, the president, had a really good marketing of the campaign, promoting himself as something new, you know, change. Who doesn't want change?
Right.
And if you are bad, and in the past few years they've been bad and bad and bad, makes sense. But when you see the numbers, he's destroying the budget on education, health, subsidies, electricity, gas, transportation. Every single price is going up, and salaries have not.
Right.
So that's a huge thing. One of the first decisions he took was to devaluate the currency in about 120%. That means that from one day to the other, your salary goes poof. That's a huge problem, especially considering that most of the people in Argentina have fixed income in pesos, and they cannot do anything. So most of the people that I know has more than one job, you know, and are literally struggling to go through life every day, and poverty and indigencia, which would be something like homeless. That's not new, but the amount of it and the speed, it's something I've never seen. The only hope I've got is that the opposition and the Congress and the unions and the people outside start seeing that this is not going on a really good path.
Right.
So action is taken.
So the critique of people like myself come and work remotely in a place.
Mhm.
The argument is that we drive up costs for the local.
So the problem is not somebody who is just trying to make a life traveling. The problem is the lack of regulation. The state needs to go on Airbnb or Booking or whatever and say, okay, we've got how many apartments are you offering? You know, okay, you can only have this portion of the market. The problem is the system. Again, it's not the individuals. So the state needs to fix the system so that everyone has an opportunity.
I feel like we talked like a lot the challenges that Argentina faces. What makes you proud?
I think you have so many cameras looking into Argentina now. It's not only because we are going through these really weird experiments, social experiments, but also because this is not any country. Argentina is an amazing country. It's not only one of the largest, among the top 10 largest in the world, but also very few people live here. This is a really new country. Argentina, it's literally the last piece of land stepped by humankind. So it's pristine, has a lot of natural resources, beautiful landscape, good infrastructure, really nice people, 3 World Cups. The potential, it's infinite. And that's the hard part of Argentina. It's really hard not to love it, but it's also really hard to live here. You know, and those of us who have had more opportunities, who were privileged in a lot of senses, find it easier to just take advantage of those privileges and leave. You know, that's the struggle we go through. You know, I don't want to leave. I feel comfortable here, and I am grateful. I want to give back everything that I got. But it's hard to even just go through every day, you know?
What can travelers do to give back?
Travel,
Yeah, just come.
talk to people, help raising awareness. I think that most people here that haven't traveled abroad have this image of Europe and North America as like a perfect world because they only see movies. You know, they have never actually traveled and seen Paris, the outside of Paris. You know, they have never seen. I mean, they see all of these real estate, pristine, clear windows of massive New York apartments, but they have never taken the underground. You know, and they think that everything is perfect, so we are doing everything bad. When you travel, when you have the opportunity, when you are privileged to travel, you see and you realize, hey, I come from Argentina and this is better here. I mean, back home, you know, not everything, but like I studied. My 4 brothers and sisters went to university for free. I speak several languages because I had teachers who taught me for free. So I think travelers can help us to understand that we are not that bad. You know, I learn a lot. I've been working with visitors from all over and listening to people, things that, okay, this we could improve this, you know, or the other way around. Some things that I've never noticed are really good. Like, wow, I've never thought of this, you know, and we should be proud about this. And I think that also traveling breaks borders, and which is, of course, something really obvious to say. But considering the current politics affairs in Europe, you know, in Mexico, USA, in Israel, Palestine, in Ukraine, in Europe, and how the movement tends to be more chauvinist, more, you know, we should close the borders and we should, no, let's open up the borders, let's talk to the neighbors, let's talk to people from very far away, let's sit down, let's talk, let's meet, and let's understand us, even in our difference. So yeah, traveling, it's always good.
Well, I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you so much again to Nicolas, and I'll see you guys in the next upload. Until then, stay curious.